Hi, I'm John Doherty, and this is the Rory Project, where we learn to swing like Rory McIlroy. And this is video number 6 in the series, where we look at P3 through P5 from down the line. And the reason we do these different views is because you can really pick up different things from different angles. And when you film your own swing, look for those certain things that you may not see from face on or back view. And I had this yellow line drawn because we're really going to look at what he does with this right shoulder in transition. We know at this halfway back point that he's over there towards the right foot. The hips haven't turned much. The arms are pretty much in front of his chest. The right arm is fairly straight, like as straight as he can get it. He's going to have a really late turn here in his swing. Most people burn that hip turn early, right in the takeaway. Rory, straight back, no hip turn. And he's going to get this hip turn and this right shoulder push really late. And we can see that right there with that right hip pull back. And there's like 4 things that happen that are really crucial in this loading section of the backswing in his swing. He is going to get this late hip turn. His left heel is going to come off the ground to help that left hip come out. And that's going to help that right hip pull back. The hands and arms are going to load up on the body. So the left arm now is not going to be in front of him. Now that left arm is going to load up on that top pec, and the hands and arms are going to be much more behind him. And that is critical with his style swing. He only gets the hands and arms in front of him from P1 to P3 and in the follow through. The rest of the way, the critical thing for him is going to be to get these hands and arms back behind the body at the top of the swing and then maintain them there through transition. Now, I had this yellow line drawn here because I want you to focus on that the edge of the white part of his vest there, and then with him wearing black, it'll be tougher to see, but we're going to look at the top of that right shoulder in transition and watch how that stays back behind the yellow line, if not even gets further back behind the yellow line. Watch how the arms stay back behind this torso that's being pulled. The obliques are getting pulled by the knees and the hips. So I mentioned 4 things that are really important, kind of named about 3. So we got this late hip turn. We got the left heel coming off the ground. We got the hands and arms pulling back behind the torso. And then before that backswing finishes, pulling back, we're going to start seeing some right knee flex. So you don't want to go all the way with that right knee straight and stay static there. He's already going to start the opening of the hips right there at the end by flexing that right knee. So now things are starting to pull the other way. This is like that rubber band getting pulled back. This is the beginning of that kinematic sequence where things are starting to coil, or that X factor stretch, where a lot of these tour guys talk about they feel their chest closed or their back to the target. You'll hear that a lot, especially in Rory's case. Now, because he really has to keep this right shoulder back in his style swing, it cannot come out. The way he releases his arms, if his right shoulder were to come out, which I would say everyone that I see that would have this much knee action, hip action, their right shoulder would be pulled out. So what you want to work on from this down the line view is to get that right knee to flex in transition. That'll help square the knees and the hips up, keep the arms pulled back behind the torso, and get that right shoulder to fall back and down behind, feeling wise, let's just say the shoelaces of your shoes. We'll watch the iron swing now. There's going to be a lot of similarities here, even though he's more bent over because of setup and because he's getting that angle of attack and he's hitting down more. But still, the right shoulder does not go out. Now I'm looking at the edge of that right shoulder right there. It does not come out past that yellow line. And you'll notice, we'll kind of go out just to P5 here. Those arms are back behind his chest. So those arms are not out in front of his chest. The body is pulling around, and that right shoulder and those arms are loaded back behind this torso. The big difference is going to be the angle his body is. I mean, that's where you're seeing this torso up like this and this torso down like that. And that's just a function of the shorter club and his need to hit the angle of attack more down with an iron, and then with the driver swing up at it more. But that's the big thing to look at from this view. I would say those 4 things. I really think his sequence is genius. on how he does keep the arms and hands in front of him going back, and then works them back and gets that late rotation in transition versus getting all that depth early in the takeaway. And then probably most people would do that, and then they would get way too much lift at the top and not be able to get that depth with the hand path. But his superpower here is squaring those knees and hips up while keeping that right shoulder back and down and those arms loaded. Now I'm going to show you another view real quick of what I want you to focus on with this right arm while all this happens. All right, looking at this bird's eye view, I want you to focus on this little crack in his right bicep area. And while we know he is getting this late hip turn, so there's that hip turn, the left heel coming off the ground, the depth with the right shoulder, the hands and arms working back behind the torso. Now we got that right knee is flexing here before the arms finish. That's going to get the knees and hips to square up and pull the obliques as the right shoulder, we know from down the line, is not coming out. It's working back and down. But watch this. He is not firing the right arm. You still see that crack in that bicep and forearm through P5. There is no trigger. So a lot of people are going to be tempted to cast or fire that right arm or uncock those wrists. They need to be pulled back and stored. That firing is going to happen in the next video when we talk about the release. But great view to see that the wrist angle, the right arm flex is maintained while this transition piece is happening. Thank you for sticking with me in this video series, and please like and subscribe to the video. It really helps me out, and we'll see you next time.